this is Natalie Grant.
Hi, this is Darlene Chick.
Hey, this is Alan Hall from Sailor.
Hello, my name is Jerome from the band Switchfoot, and you are listening to Life Changing Radio.
WSDK.
WSDK.
1550 AM.
1550.
Joining us on the Rise and Shine hotline right now, it's Pat Croasman, who is a child and family ministry coach. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. So you're headed to Connecticut this Thursday, in fact, to Trinity Covenant Church of Manchester for a special children's ministry conference. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. As part of trying to develop a network of children and family ministers in Connecticut, we are offering a spiritual retreat. And Steve Berger, who's the Director of Adult and Children and Family Ministries for the Evangelical Covenant Church, will be coming out and leading that process for us. Annette Thomas and I, Annette is from New York City, and then I cover the New England area, are coaches for the East Coast Conference of the Covenant Church. And we will be hosting it at the Trinity Covenant Church in Manchester.
Great. Is this something that's open to the public? Is this something just for Covenanters in that denomination? What's the goal? I think you said you're trying to develop a network of Christian ministry leaders.
Right. We had initially thought that it would be for the Covenant Church, but then as you contacted us and we thought about it more, decided that sometimes it can be a pretty lonely ministry to be working with children downstairs as everybody else is, or down the hall or whatever, as everybody else is gathering to worship. And so if there are any other children's ministry directors out there who would like to join us, the only thing is that we ask that they pay for their lunch, which would be $10, and they can do that either by bringing a check or cash.
Sure.
And also RSVPing, so there will be enough food for everyone.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about how children's ministry is changing or evolving. And as you mentioned, it can be kind of an isolated ministry. Like you said, sometimes CE directors, children's ministry directors are taking care of the kids while other folks are involved in worship, but yet it is a vital part of any church. In fact, I've always said that if you don't have a vibrant children's ministry, then you're missing at least half of a potential congregation.
Right, and I would agree. I mean, I wouldn't be in this field if I didn't think it was really one of the most important, if not the most important thing that a church can do.
Right.
Because most folks, if they're going to make a commitment to Christ, do so before the age of 14.
Right.
And it's just going to, it's just really vital to get the kids when they're young. The other thing that's happening right now, there are always pendulum swings in any field, and right now the real focus is on equipping parents and helping them to be those kind of spiritual mentors for their kids. Even in a vital children's ministry, we may have the kids for 2 or 3 hours a week, whereas parents have so many more hours with them. And so equipping them and encouraging them to be those primary spiritual educators for their kids is really vital to what we do.
Sure. If you're joining us right now, we're speaking with Pat Croasman, who is the New England Regional Director for Children's Ministries and Family Ministry Coach for a special, a spiritual retreat, you're calling it, for children's and family ministers happening this Thursday at Trinity Covenant Church in Manchester. Tell us what time that's happening this Thursday.
It's going to be from 10 o'clock in the morning until 3. We did that intentionally so that if there are moms who need to get their kids off, they can get them off and then hopefully be back before they get home from school.
Right.
And it really is going to be a spiritual retreat.
Good.
Steve is going to lead us through a variety of spiritual exercises and show us how to do the exercise and then send us off with our Bibles and journals and give us time to do that exercise, and then we'll come back together and share whatever we think God is teaching us during that time, and then he will do it again. And that's kind of going to be the flow of the day. It's really for a time of filling up the tanks a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's so important too, because who ministers to the ministers sort of thing.
Right, exactly.
You want to be able to make sure that those who are in charge of leading our children and families, because when you're ministering to children, you're ministering really to the parents. And you mentioned that earlier. Right. What kinds of things are good things to recommend to Sunday school teachers or children's ministry leaders? What's one of the first one or two things that come to mind to remind them that is going to be helping them in their ministry?
Well, I think that if you have not read George Barna's book, Transforming Children into Spiritual Champions, I think that's probably the number one book that I would really encourage people to read, because that really sets out just how important it is to reach kids when they're young. Good. For parents, I think it's people have asked me, what we did with our kids, and I think it's being authentic. Yeah. It's really not materials and resources, right, as much as living the life and living it out, and allowing them to see your spiritual struggles, but also allowing them to see how important the Lord is as you make those decisions and live out your life.
Many years ago, in a previous church position, I was actually a director of Christian education myself, and I think one of the toughest challenges I felt was trying to recruit teachers, because so many parents, so many adults feel like, oh, I'm not qualified, I don't know much about the Bible. But your point is just be yourself and show your faith, and that is instructive, sometimes instructive enough for kids.
Right. I was in a meeting one time, and the leader asked, how many of you remember the greatest, best Sunday school lesson you learned as a kid? And no one raised their hand. And then he asked, how many of you remember that really special Sunday school teacher?
Right.
And
everyone has a story, right.
Right. And so, again, it really is that relationship. And anybody who's prepared a lesson knows that even if you're preparing a lesson for toddlers, you're going to learn just because you're opening the Word.
Exactly.
And you're going to learn by preparing that lesson.
Exactly, right.
And so, you can learn alongside the kids.
Sure.
It's not a matter of having to be a Bible scholar for 2-year-olds.
Exactly.
That's not what they need.
And you know what? Some those simplest object lessons are the most memorable, even for adults too. So
absolutely, yes.
Well, Pat, thank you so much for joining us. Can you, if a pastor is listening, or a Sunday school teacher, or a director of Christian education is listening, would like to attend this Thursday, where can they go get more information?
They can contact me. And I am going to give them my email address.
Sure.
But my last name can be tricky, so I want them to listen carefully. And it is PCROASM as in Mary, UN as in Nancy, @gmail.com.
Okay, very good. And so the conference happens this Thursday, 10 to 3 at Trinity Covenant Church, 302 Hackmatack Street in Manchester. Do you know yet how many folks you're expecting? Or?
Well, we have about 15 people registered. We can take about 10 more.
Okay.
We have people coming from Rhode Island and New Jersey and New York and Massachusetts and
very good.
I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah, I think it's important to network together just for that support and get some good ideas on best practices and just fellowship. I think that fellowship and support is so important. So good for you, and I hope you have a great conference on Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us on Rise and Shine.
Thank you.
With quality Christian programming 24 hours a day, we're Life-Changing Radio, 1550 AM, WSDK Bloomfield, Hartford.